out there, and I believe we have our mystery box friends. We are going to try to get everything set up here on the old skip Skype, as they say. And while we do that, we'll do a little bit of, I guess, house cleaning here. Get a hold of us online, jiggyjaguar.com. Download the app. Also, find us in both the app stores, iPod and Google Play. I always say iPod. And the other day, someone's like, iPods? I remember when I had an iPod way back in the day. So I'm glad to know that I, at least, I'm not totally uncool when it comes to these things.
Oh, what is your Pornhub thing?
I'm on Pornhub too. We're on Pornhub because we have to put our sometimes our interviews that we do with adult film stars out in Las Vegas.
I'd believe that.
And then when we go to, as Tom Likas likes to call it, Portland, home of the other white meat, for Exotica, YouTube doesn't like the fact that we talk to porn stars, so we have to put them on Pornhub. But we have got two great guests with us today. They join us live here on the old Skype-a-rooney. From vanilla to kinky, queer to straight, and everything in between. Of course, we're talking about A Night at the Mystery Box Show. Brings you tales of one-night stands, explorations into fetish, awkward first times, dark fantasies come true. This sounds like a hell of a time. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys, and talk to us a little bit about yourselves.
Well, hi. Thank you for having us. I'm Reba Sparrow. I'm the executive producer, story coach, and one of the hosts for the Mystery Box Show alongside Eric.
And I'm Eric. I'm also a producer and story coach and host for the show. Thanks for having us.
You guys are pretty interesting. I noticed when Exotica sent out a press release or whatever that you guys were going to be making an appearance, I immediately had to get you guys on the show here. And then we're definitely going to have to talk to you guys when we're out there for Exotica here in June. Tell us a little bit more about the Mystery Box Show and how this works.
Well, we're a storytelling show, first and foremost. Some folks are familiar with shows like The Moth or maybe Risk, where those are sort of the mainstream storytelling shows that are on the radio. There are podcasts as well, and it's real people telling true stories from their lives. It's just with our show, it's live on stage. It's not a podcast, and our storytellers are telling stories all about sex and sexuality. And
you guys have a little bit of everything in these shows. You've got best-selling authors, you've got nationally touring comedians, adult film industry professionals, you've got all sorts of things.
Definitely, and we also just have your everyday average person who has some sort of relationship to sex, even if that relationship is no relationship with sex. Everyone has a story around that, and so we love to hear from the whole gamut of people.
Amazing. That's pretty cool. Now, if you want to get a hold of these guys online, you can check out mysteryboxshow.com. Also, they're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, of course. And they join us live today here on Skype. And so talk to me about what you guys are going to be doing at Exotica.
Yeah, we're excited. This is our first year at Exotica, and I guess it's Exotica's first time in Portland.
Yes, yes. I am still trying to figure out why the hell they're going to Portland. Somebody told me it's because Portland supposedly has the largest collection of strip clubs all in one spot.
We're known for that. Yeah, I think it's the highest number of strip clubs per capita. Yeah, there's all kinds of strip clubs around here. I think there's a very popular vegan strip club that a lot of people enjoy.
A vegan strip club.
Oh my gosh.
Diablo. Yeah, and I mean, we have a huge sex-positive community here. Even though Portland isn't a huge city, the sex-positive community here is quite large within that. So I think it's a perfect match for Exotica. It makes sense to us.
Yeah, and while we're there, we're at Exotica, we're going to be doing two sort of, we're calling them teaser shows. So our normal show is about 2.5 hours long, at Exotica, we have about 45 minutes on Friday and 45 minutes on Sunday to showcase some of the performers from Exotica telling true stories about their sex lives. That might be the sort of stuff that even fans of theirs haven't heard before, and we're looking forward to developing that with them.
So, do you line up the people that you're going to have on stage, or does Exotica do that? How does this work?
Exotica's been great working with us to help procure some people, and we've been reaching out to people on our own. But the main thing is whether we reach them through Exotica or ourselves, we also work with the storytellers over the course of a couple of weeks to develop the stories. So it's not just booking a person and hoping they say something interesting on stage. We work with them to develop the story so that it has the highest impact emotionally that it can.
So, can you tell us some of the people that you've got lined up, or is that like a top secret thing?
We have one specific person who we can announce, and some others we're sort of holding back for.
Hey, that's fine. I didn't know how this all worked. If you couldn't announce and plug, or how this worked.
No, we're happy to plug. I wouldn't be surprised if you're already familiar with Tayomi.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Exotica already.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, she was on the show.
Yeah, she was on the show last year promoting the appearance when they went to Denver.
Is she like the Glamazon or something like that, or whatever?
Yes, Tayomi's fantastic. That's
super nice lady.
So we're developing a story with her and a couple others that will be announced soon.
Well, you mentioned that you go through and you help these folks develop their stories and everything, and you're like, we work with people, and the minute that they said that, I'm like, well, they're not doing this with Evan Stone. Because trying to keep him organized is not a simple task. I've been around Evan for a little bit. I've interviewed the guy. We've had him on the show at least once or twice. Trying to keep that guy organized, because his brain fires, 95 million, beats per minute or whatever. He did a seminar at Exotica last year, and he's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here, so I'm just going to talk for an hour. And so he just kind of bullshitted for an hour, and then he was done. So I think that's cool that you guys work with the people to develop their stories, though. I think that's a cool idea.
I have a theater arts background, both on stage and backstage and directing, and Eric has a background in animation, in managing people. So we sort of run a tight ship as far as that's concerned, to sort of set up the expectations of how we need things to be and that we need to be taken seriously. Because that is a challenge we come across. People say, oh, how fun, I just get to get up on stage and talk about sex for a while, and that's not exactly what it is. We want to maintain a certain aesthetic. It's also very easy to be crude and offensive, and
you better believe it.
All of those things, and we want to be as inclusive as possible. So sort of setting up those guidelines to how to do that, to make their stories universal and in a way that they can really connect with every person in the audience in one way or another, is what our job is, and what we try to achieve during those coaching sessions and working with them.
That's fantastic. Now, you guys have had all sorts of different people involved in this. Sex toy experts, members from the kink community, pretty much everybody from all walks of life. How have you been able to pull this off? Because this is a pretty cool accomplishment.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I'm not sure I know entirely how we've been able to pull it off, but I think what it is like Reba was saying, finding the humanity in the stories. People who come to us are really interested in connecting with other people through their stories, so that even here's an example. A couple of years ago, we got to work with Paul Thomas. I don't know if you know Paul Thomas, porn legend. And when he came to us, he said, "Listen, I could tell you a story about being with Ginger Lynn, or what it was like to shoot any one of the hundreds of porn films that I've shot or people I've slept with, but I'd rather talk about stuff that's more personal to me." And I tell you, like, that hit us right in our hearts, because that's everything we've always aimed for even with people who aren't celebrities. Because when you're an audience member, it might be fun for a little bit to listen to, say, a porn star talk about the kind of crazy sex that they've had.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if I'm not relating to it as a listener,
then
there's
really no point.
It sort of like evaporates. So I think that's why we've been able to keep going and find all different people from all walks of life, because at the base level, sex connects us emotionally in the same way, whether you're a porn star, a celebrity, or somebody that, just checks your groceries at the store.
And I'll say on the administrative end of that, if you want specifics, I don't know if that's what you were asking too, it's a lot of emailing and a lot of following up.
Yes.
It's a lot of, hey, remember us, a year later. And,
Yes.
That's my forte. That's Eric, who's just diligent about following up with people and saying, hey, we're still interested. Hey, we're still interested. Hey, how about now? So it's not as easy as just calling up somebody and saying, we do our show, and them saying yes. So
Yes.
Sometimes it is, and that's amazing, but it is a lot of follow and not giving up on people.
So when you got the information that Exotica was coming to that area, what happens? Do you guys jump into action and get a hold of Exotica? Did they reach out to you? Because I'm sure, just from what you're saying, it took a lot of time and effort to put this show together, even though, June 8th is coming up pretty fast here.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, actually, so Exotica reached out to us. I don't know. Do you know how that happened, Eric?
Yeah. Well, I think what happened was, like we were saying, it's their first year in Portland, so they really wanted to know the community and who's here and interested in sex, and who are the people who are already connecting to people, connecting to the city in a sexual way. And they found us and said, here's this show that looks like they have a pretty big following that likes sex, so it would be good for us to be in league with them. So they reached out to us and said, hey, we like what you do. Would you mind bringing that to Exotica? And we were flattered, and we're excited about the possibility. But that's kind of how the connection started.
That's cool. Now, if you want to get more information, check out mysteryboxshow.com. Now, I noticed in your the emails we exchanged back and forth, you guys are having a dinner party Saturday, May 4th. Take me through this. What is this like? Is this basically the mystery box, only we're serving food? How does this work?
Thanks for asking. That's sort of my pet project that's been going on since last fall. So we call it the Mystery Box Social dinner party. And what we do, we host a dinner party in our home. We can accommodate 16 people who have purchased tickets, and we have a movie screen and a projector in the house. We invite 2 past storytellers who, we've coordinated that maybe their stories go well together or play off of each other. And we show those stories with those storytellers present. I serve a 3-course meal, complete with wine and cocktails and appetizers. And after each story, all the guests have the opportunity to talk to the storyteller about their experience, either their story specifically or the topic of their story. And honestly, it just sort of leads into an organic conversation from there. But we just had ours, the last one last night. And it's always an amazing success. We have folks who are regulars at the Mystery Box Show come to these dinner parties, and we have folks who've never even been to a Mystery Box Show who just found this, cool date night online. And then once they're here, they, get invested and meet new people and then become audience members and sometimes become storytellers with us. And it's really cool to be able to connect to people on this intimate level. Last night we had some really interesting topics of conversation come up.
Yeah, the storytellers we had shared stories about being involved with orgasmic meditation, and we also had a woman who's a dear friend of ours named Leland Karina. She's actually Miss Oregon State Leather 2019.
Look at that! It's like you had royalty there.
A dyke daddy and having a dyke daddy, and that sparked amazing conversation among people.
Awesome. So who are some of the folks that you have been able to get to do Mystery Box that you never thought you'd be able to get, or, you know, kind of your dream people that you would like to have in something like this?
I'd say the big names that we never thought we'd have but did. I'd say Dan Savage.
That's awesome.
2 years ago.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
That's a pretty big. That's a pretty big name.
Yeah. Janet Hardy.
One of the ethical slut.
Mm-hmm. Paul Thomas for sure. We've been a big fan of Paul Thomas.
Amazing.
As porn, but on Broadway and from Jesus Christ Superstar. Eric and I are both big fans of his.
Yeah. A couple years ago, we had Dirty Lola. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's a sex educator from New York.
I believe I met her this year just in passing at the Adult Entertainment Expo, and I was like, really? Yeah. So
she's delightful. I think she's about to have a TV show coming out soon.
Yes.
So yeah, working with her was wonderful. Yeah, we've been really blessed in some of the people that have. When we did our show in San Francisco, Carol Queen shared a story with us.
Wow.
Legendary Carol Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord, you've had some big names come through there.
Very blessed.
That's awesome. Now, they're also on Instagram. Go check them out over on Instagram. They have all sorts of different things going on over there, little video clips and photos, all sorts of different things. So, what do you guys? What does it take as far as like a couple days before getting a show together, and especially since you're doing like these little preview shows at Exotica, where your time limit is very thin? What has that been like?
Well, thanks for asking. It's going to be pretty tight for us in June because we have Exotica the 8th, 9th, and is it the 8th, 9th, 7th, 8th, and 9th?
Yeah.
But also the 8th is our main stage show at the Alberta Rose Theatre. So we're doing a full show in the middle of Exotica, outside of Exotica. So 3 shows in a row. And leading up to our main stage show, I'm lucky enough that this is my full-time job. Yeah. It's a full-time job for Eric too, but he has an additional job. So we do get to dedicate a lot of time to it. And just like any theater production, we have production week, the week before the show, and basically 24 hours a day for 7 days is preparation for that. And that's meeting with sponsors. And so we also have really cool sponsors, and we do giveaways and gifts for our storytellers and things like that we coordinate.
That's pretty cool.
But also, having a final rehearsal. So something like Exotica, that's a little astray from what we normally do. So it'll be a lot of coaching over Skype and potentially meeting folks who are performing for the very first time right as they're performing, which is fine.
I'm sure that's nerve-wracking.
A little bit.
It is, because one of our goals is to build community. We love to have the storytellers meet each other beforehand and hear each other's stories, and to feel connected on that level. I think it creates a stronger show and more confident storytellers. But we're up for adventure, so yeah. It's
awesome.
not our first rodeo, so we've been doing this for 7 years, and I think that's definitely a benefit.
Yes, I did notice that going through your Instagram earlier. You guys have been around for 7 years, so that's quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you. If I can also plug this, thank you for mentioning all our Instagram and Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel where if people want to see the stories that have been told, so many of the stories are up there, hundreds of them. If our storytellers allow the stories to be made public, we share them with the world. And only in rare circumstances do people want to keep them private. So there's plenty to keep entertained there.
Yeah, because I would think once they've shared them in front of your audience, it's like, really? You don't want this shared out publicly, but yet you did it on our stage in front of everybody.
Yeah,
that's kind of a weird deal, but I understand where people would have that. So.
Yeah, some folks want to keep it private from their families who they did not invite to the live show, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have a Patreon account that we launched.
Look
recently.
at that! Another we had a comic book band, all sorts of different entertainment things earlier talking about Patreon. I think that's awesome. You guys are doing Patreon as well.
Yeah, I think it's becoming a very popular platform for creators, and we've loved being able to connect with our audience through that too.
Fantastic. Now, if people wanna, what do you guys have as far as your Patreon? What do you do as far as your perks or all that?
Yeah, so this is actually fun. We haven't talked about this yet, but at our live show, and we'll also be doing this at Exotica, we have these things we call confession cards. They're little audience prompts kind of on an index card where we ask the audience to share tiny miniature stories with us that we then read from stage. They're always prompted by a thing like, what sort of thing around your household have you used for sex that wasn't meant for sex? Or tell us about a time
That's awesome.
tell us about a time that you got injured during sex. And people have all kinds of stories that we would have never guessed at. So we read those live from stage, but for people who don't get to come to the live show, that's one of our Patreon perks is we share those with our Patreon supporters.
And the ones that don't get read from stage, those get read those get photographed for Patreon as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We also do live videos with story coaching tips.
And telling upcoming information, and we're just about to launch a new Patreon level that will allow people to see our videos before they're officially released to the public.
Wow.
So kind of like an early access sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And Eric and I always tell a story at the show as well, and those never go public. So those will be Patreon perks as well.
That's cool. That's really cool. Now, John, listening to all this, what do you make of all this? I think this is the coolest idea. I think Exotica hit a home run getting a hold of these folks.
Oh,
yeah, John, what are your thoughts?
I've just been interested as heck. I mean, this is the first time in Jiggy's history where he's had like 3 really super interesting people in a row. Like the first guy, then we had a gal that was from Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a singer, and you guys are just, it's fun listening to you. It's not boring. I know I've been playing on my phone a lot, but I mean, I've been listening, so, but it's just, I mean, I'm pretty impressed with it. It's a different kind of, what's the word I'm trying to think, venue to be able to do things.
Yeah.
It's something you wouldn't have thought of, but it's also creative, but it's not something you would sit there and hear and think like, God, that's stupid. It's interesting. And this comes from a conservative Kansas. I'm kind of like, hell yeah.
That's awesome. So your social media activity besides Patreon, what kind of engagement and situation do you have with all your Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and everything?
Well, I mean, with Facebook, we've really been able to engage with our fans there. Of course, after every show, we have pictures that come out and people, say what was their favorite moment from the show and what they're looking forward to in the next show. We've been having a lot of a great response every time we announce an upcoming event. We just announced that we're going to be marching at the Pride Parade here in Portland in June, and the response to that has been overwhelming. We're inviting our audience to come join us. As much as is manageable.
We had over 2,000 responses,
Awesome.
which was mind-blowing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try to use social media for engaging with the community and creating more community, I suppose. We do a show every other month, and so we don't just want to be people who are using social media for marketing and just, hey, come to the show, hey, buy tickets, hey, buy tickets. We also, want to use it for, hey, we're going to the Hump Film Festival. Who wants to join us? Or promoting we have a tight community with our alumni. So and we have a private Facebook group for once someone's been on our show, they're now a part of that group, and they can, use it for networking or advertising what they're up to, and we like to promote what they're doing as well, whether it's related to sex or not. Just cool people doing cool things in the community. We want to keep that going. So
That's good
yeah,
stuff.
for the benefit.
Couple of weird, different questions here. What made you guys get started into this, and how hard was it to get started?
Oh, that's a great question. When we started off, we didn't have much experience doing a show like this. We were just looking for a show that we could go to. We figured there must already be one where people talk about sex, and when it turned out there wasn't, we decided to start our own show. And the aesthetic behind it really came from the fact that Reba and I have been in sort of sexualized situations, places maybe similar to AVN or Exotica, where the sexual content might have made us feel a little excluded. And we knew that we were interested in the topic, but we didn't want to feel like we weren't kinky enough or we weren't sexy enough.
Okay.
And so that's what's driven the aesthetic of our show is to be a space where people can talk about all kinds of crazy stuff, but where nobody feels excluded. It's very inclusive. So like you said at the top, whether you're kinky, whether you're vanilla, whether you're anywhere on the gender spectrum, nobody is saying you're not welcome here. Nobody is gatekeeping.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
That's awesome. We have got two great guests with us today. They're going to be part of Exotica. They also have their own show that they're going to be doing outside of Exotica. Now, are you going to network? Are you hoping to get people that are at Exotica to go to the show? Are you marketing with Exotica to funnel people to the show? How's that going to work?
Yeah, it's using us to let Portland know Exotica is going to be here. And they're also letting us use their platform to say, hey, if you are interested in sex, if you're interested in the kinds of stories that other people get up to, we're here for that, even after Exotica leaves town. So we're definitely hoping to network not only with audience, but hopefully meeting a lot of other performers who might want to come back to Portland to share their stories.
That's awesome. That's awesome because I just, some of these conventions and some of these events, it's like once the convention is gone, they have this kind of attitude where they've made their money and they've done what they need to do, so they're moving on down the road. And that's one thing that I like that is happening there is that Exotica is wanting people to, they're wanting to get you guys to get the people out there for their show, and they're wanting to make people aware that you're actually there. So it's a win-win. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the folks at Exotica have been really awesome with us. We've been impressed with, it seems like they're invested in people in general, and they're not just here for themselves, which is, the way we try to run things as well. So it's been a good match, and yeah, we highly recommend them. They're good people.
Well, I'll tell you, working with those folks last year was just amazing because they got me anything I needed before the show, and then at the show, they listened to all my stupid dumb questions, and they got me everything I needed and wanted and more. So it is definitely a good little organization. And
did you travel them to a bunch of different cities?
They do. They travel all over the place. I wish we could have. Just jumped on the on the route, as they say, and just did the loop with them. But they're going to be going to New Jersey for 4 days at the end of the year. They did Chicago fairly recently. They got this deal up there with you guys. So I think that's pretty cool. And they did Denver last year, and now this year they're not going to do Denver because apparently either they didn't make any money or it didn't work. I don't know. And now they're going up there to Portland. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're looking forward to meeting you because you're coming to.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right? Me and Britannia are going to be there, and maybe pro wrestling superstar Kenny Zombie Jones might be joining us in Portland.
No.
God no.
The The human pixie stick.
The human pixie stick, Kenny Zombie Jones. Oh, I'll tell you, Kenny is a guy who, if you want somebody to do the mystery box, this guy's got all sorts of stories when it comes to sex, wrestling, pro wrestling, the whole thing. He can.
Connect.
Yeah, it's pretty scary what he'd do for a Klondike bar. I mean, you know.
We have yet to have a sex and wrestling story, so
Oh.
it'd be a nice addition.
Oh my God. He is, when I told him we were going to Exotica, I said, well, I might be able to get you in. And he's like, oh, okay. And he goes, well, I'll just, he was like, well, what are you going to do for hotels? And I said, well, we're probably going to stay at the Host Hotel, which I think is like Holiday Inn or something. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I'll just sleep on the floor. If I can get into Exotica, I'll just sleep on the floor. And I'm like, what?
Like it's different for him in the other place. I mean, you know.
That too. Oh, these pro wrestlers, they pack in like fucking cornwood in these hotels where you get one room and there's 50 people in the room. I'm like, what? How's this work? It's amazing. But so once Exotica's over with, what's the next event that you guys are going to be putting together, or do you take like a month or so off to kind of decompose or decompress from the Exotica experience?
Decomposing.
Yeah, we die and then resurrect ourselves.
You gotta hide the dead body somewhere. I mean, come on, man.
That's right. You got to.
Well, yeah, after Exotica, our main stage show is right there in the middle. And usually a week after our main stage show is when we do our Mystery Box social dinner party. So after Exotica, the June 22nd will be our dinner party.
That's awesome.
And then, yeah, we take it's not really taking a month or two off. I mean, we do a show every other month, but in between we are curating stories for, several shows in advance, because it would be amazing if the people who pitched, we have 5 stories every show. It would be amazing if 5 people in a row fit together in a show, but we curate it in a way that the stories are very different. So there's a nice flow, and you're not hearing, 2 dungeon themed stories or 2, I don't know, virginity stories or whatever it is in the same show. We like to keep a variety. So we're constantly coaching people, and we're constantly having meetings. And so, yeah, there isn't really, I try to take like a week off, but it almost never happens because there's post-production work to be done. And
yes, the lovely world of post-production.
Of course.
yeah.
Radio and television, everybody always talks about, oh, it must be so much fun, you and John getting up there and doing all the stuff that you do. And it's like, it's fun, but then at the end, it's post-production time.
Yeah. Yeah, the stuff that people see is the smallest part of the job.
Yes.
If Jiggy's out there for Exotica, you got to get him on your show to tell you about the incident with the goat, the battery cables, motor oil, and a feather duster.
Fantastic. Now, what is the weirdest, story that you thought was what was going to be fun, and then in the end you're like, wow, that was kind of a dud? Have you had anything like that, or do you screen people enough to where you're not gonna have to worry about that, and every presenter, every story is always a home run?
I mean, I think we work with people enough that we try to avoid anything being a dud on stage. I want to call out that you said, what's the weirdest story?
Yeah.
And I almost think...
or is there one?
Maybe the way to think maybe some of the more extreme stories, but weird is almost a judgment call that, weird is relative.
Well, that too, and that's kind of why halfway to get to the rest of the question, I changed it. Because weird. Like when we were at an AVN, there was this little Japanese girl wandering around, and she was a cosplayer, And she was taking, she had all these video game costumes, and she was taking photos of her and topless in her Mega Man costume or things like this. And I'm like, that's the weirdest damn thing. Well, what are you doing here at the porn convention in, cosplay? And then I'm thinking later, it's the porn convention. Who cares?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like anything goes as long as, we have to work very hard not to make sure no one is actively offending an audience person.
Well, yeah, you don't want. Yeah.
So, and that's really about language and making sure that the storyteller is using I statements. This happened to me. I feel this way, instead of
yes.
This happened and it was fucking weird and you should feel this way about it too. We don't allow that on stage.
I think that's awesome.
That's smart.
I think that's fantastic. So, have you reached out besides to like when you heard, you mentioned Tayomi earlier, when you seen some of the list of the people that were coming, did you reach out to those folks, or have you already gotten different people in the pipeline that you knew you were just going to have them set up and it wasn't going to be that big of a deal, and your shows go on regardless of what the event is?
No, well, I mean, that's a great question. Like we were saying, Exotic has been great in helping us reach out to people. But yeah, we also went through the list of everybody that's there and trying to find people through either their website, their Twitter feeds, because everybody who's at Exotica, they're working people. They have busy lives, so we want to make sure that we get people who are interested, and it is a time commitment with the coaching.
Yes.
So, yeah, with the people we've found so far, there's one I'm really excited to talk about, and we just can't confirm yet.
Well, that's fine. Yeah.
But yeah, they're all people that we've reached out to through seeing the list of who's going to be in Portland at Exotica.
I think that's awesome. Well, before we let you guys go, how do we get a hold of you guys? How do we get involved with the show? Everything.
Yeah, mysteryboxshow.com.
Yep, and we're on Instagram at MysteryBoxPDX, and you can find us on Facebook, Mystery Box Show, right?
YouTube.
Oh yes, our YouTube channel. That's where you can find all of the videos. You can find us on Patreon if you just type in Mystery Box Show. Where else are we? We're everywhere.
And hey, if you have a story to share, the email address is on our website. Pitch your story to us, and that goes for you too, Jiggy. We're gonna see you here there in Portland.
Oh, good Lord! No, nobody wants to hear any of my stories.
Oh yeah, we do.
Well, thank you, my friends. I appreciate it, and I will be in touch, and we'll get together with you guys at Exotica.
Thank you for your time. We're looking forward to meeting you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have yourself a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you, guys. There they go. The Mystery Box Show.
Too.
Yes.
I'm kind of scared, Jiggy. You've had like 3 really good guests in a row.
I know. This is the strangest